What a film. So John Wick Chapter 4 is the next installment of the John Wick franchise, which started back in 2014. And I remember watching it in cinemas because it was perhaps one of the films I really wanted to watch during that year, because I'm such a huge Keanu Reeves fan, and especially after what happened with Forza Ronin, which bombed pretty bad. But the whole concept of John Wick in 2014 was really appealing to me, so I had to watch it. John Wick Chapter 4 is perhaps, in my opinion, one of the greatest action films of all time. It's probably the best action film in the John Wick franchise. I don't know how Chad Stahelski somehow pulled this one out the bag, because I didn't think you could get better than John Wick Chapter 3. But you take this to another level. I don't know how they came up with this idea, but I guess it's because of 8711, which is a fantastic stunt company. And they have worked with, obviously with Chad, and worked on The Matrix, and they worked on so many films together that you would know that they're going to come out with something phenomenal, just like John Wick Chapter 4. So John Wick Chapter 4 takes place maybe 6 to 8 months after Chapter 3. John Wick is healed, so is King, played by Laurence Fishburne. And he is basically gone after the Elder from Chapter 3. And what ends up happening is he's trying to get his ring back. After he used that ring for safe passage, he finds out that his ring is lost. He's not going to get that ring back. He kills the Elder, and because of killing the Elder, the High Table bring forward Marquis, played by Bill Skarsgård, who's an absolute douche. He's a prick, but he is such a great character. He's really, well received in terms of the way he looks. He looks amazing, but his character itself is very disrespectful to a lot of people around him. And Marquis ends up sending the Harbinger, played by Clancy Brown, who is a member of the High Table. Goes to Winston, he goes to Sharon, tells him that the Continental in New York will now cease to exist, and because of that, he blows up the Continental. It's quite unfortunate that everything that John Wick touches actually blows up or dies, so it is quite ridiculous. Now, before I get into the action, I want to talk about the characters. Now, the characters are phenomenal. You got Hiroyuki Sanada playing Koji, who is the manager of the Osaka Continental, and Osaka Continental is gorgeous. They were so well designed. The production design of this movie is just ridiculous. You got Donnie playing a blind hitman called Kane, and he also has a daughter as well, but he is a retired hitman who has to be brought back into the fold because Marquis, played by Bill Skarsgård, tells him that if he doesn't help him to fill out a contract by killing John Wick, then him and his daughter are basically good as dead. You have Ian McShane returning back as Winston. You have the late Lance Reddick playing Sharon once again. You have Clancy Brown playing the Harbinger, who's a member of the High Table. Bill Skarsgård playing Marquis. Shamier Anderson, who plays the Tracker, also known as Mr. Nobody. You've got the pop star Rina, who also plays Akira, who is the daughter of Koji, played by Hiroyuki Sanada in this as well. You've got Marco Zaror, who also plays Chidi. If you don't recognize him, he was also in Undisputed 3 that came out 2010, starring him and Scott Adkins, and he plays the main villain in that as well. And you can recognize him in this because his action set pieces between Kane and John Wick were absolutely phenomenal. And of course, the person who I can't now forget is Scott Adkins, who plays Killer. And the inspiration for Killer was quite ridiculous because I actually realized where the inspiration was from. If you haven't seen a movie called SPL, it stars Sammo Hung and Donnie Yen as well, and Sammo Hung also has this big purple suit, which I think is inspiration for Killer. That's my personal opinion, but it just like that. You had many inspirations from different movies as well. You got different inspiration for video games. You got inspirations like Hotline Miami. You got inspirations like The Warriors, where you have to go from one side of the Bronx to another while fighting different members of different gangs. And this is no different from that as well. All the locations are amazing. You've got more than 3 continentals now. You got the New York Continental, you got the Rome Continental, you got Casablanca Continental, and you also got the Osaka Continental. And it's just brilliant world building. I just love the fact that this franchise is just getting better and bigger because there's so much to uncover, especially the fact that we only had 4 movies and the TV series is coming out about the Continental, and you also got a spin-off called The Ballerina, played by Anna de Armas as well, which is coming out, and I just want to know more about it. Ever since the first film that came out 2014, I just love the idea of the gold coins. I love the idea of people respecting each other, about the common ground of no fighting inside the Continentals, and it's just, and the character himself, John Wick, you just know him, his story from other characters. You don't he never ever states what he's done, but you just hear the stories of him from all the different characters all around him, and it just shows you how much of a monster this man actually is. And in case you forgot as well, in John Wick Chapter 3, John Wick's real name is Jordani Janovic, and that's because he is part of the Roscoe Roma family who brought him in as an orphan, and next thing you know, he learned how to be probably one of the most prominent killers in the franchise, and that's how he became who he is. And yeah, it's just a really pretty cool concept that he was a person before he was John Wick, before he ended up marrying Helen, and before he left that life that he lived before. And the whole point of this movie is literally John Wick trying his best to get this hit off him. That's the whole point. He went from a bounty of, I think it was 40 million or 80 million, John Wick Chapter 3, and he went all the way up to 40 million in Chapter 4. And there's mutual respect between every hitman as well. Everybody knows that there is a long history between everyone. There's history between Koji, there's history between Kane, history between John Wick. And it's just nice to see that they were all friends once upon a time as well. And they all have mutual respect for one another. The action set pieces in this movie were never ending. The first 20-25 minutes was so mind-boggling. Like, I didn't realize how many people were getting killed at front center. And I love the Greek mythology of John Wick franchise. It's just amazing. It's phenomenal. To be honest, I didn't even feel the 2 hour 45 minute runtime of John Wick. It just kept getting better and better. The pacing was great. I just couldn't stop watching it, and it just felt like this is the one film where if there was a 3 hour curve this, I would not feel bored at all, because they somehow just kept the pacing going and going and going. But yeah, so this film, there's not much to say about it without spoiling it, and if you want a spoiler reaction video, I'll more than happily make that as well. But from what I've seen, this is perhaps the best action film, one of the best action films of all time. I think Chad Stahelski did an amazing job as well, especially from the first film where he was co-directing with David Leitch. And it's just phenomenal how the first film was originally supposed to only have 3 or 4 kills, and it was a completely different movie altogether. But the fact is, they built a whole world from the first film. Is a testament to how much of a good action director he is, and you can tell that being a stuntman in his normal day-to-day life made him into one of the greatest action directors of our time. The funny thing is, I realized throughout all the movies, John Wick doesn't speak that much, and the really cool reason why is because I think he's a personification, or he is the main reason of action speak louder than words, because he drops a few lines here and there, like, yeah, or I'm gonna kill them all. Like, literally, that's all he bloody says through the entire movie. He has a few lines here and there, but literally his set pieces speak better for him than his actual words do. Another cool reference which I really liked about this movie as well, how in the final 25 minutes is also a reference to the Red Circle. And if you remember John Wick 1, where you have the Red Circle dubstep theme, which was done by Tyler Bates, it was really well done, and they added that into the one of the final action sequences in Chapter 4. As far as negatives, I can't really even think of that many negatives. Probably I think the only negative I could think of is that I want more. This is not enough. Keanu Reeves is literally made to be John Wick. If only we had an earlier version of John Wick, a younger version as well, where we could have at least about 6-7 films. But I guess we're not going to get that many films anyway because of the age of Keanu Reeves. But he is a testament of a man who loves making movies, and he will give his best every single time. In case you don't realize as well, the movie does have a post-credit scene. I probably won't tell you exactly what it is, but stick around for that as well. So in conclusion, everyone plays a great pivotal moment in this movie. Bill Skarsgård, Ian McShane, Lance Reddick, Keanu Reeves, Clancy Brown, Marco Zaror, Donnie Yen, Laurence Fishburne, Hiroyuki Sanada, and Shamier Anderson, Rina. Like, everyone played such a big pivotal part, and honest to God, I think it'll be very hard to say that there'll be any film that'll be able to top something like this. And it's just a shame, because I think we kind of hit peak action films with John Wick Chapter 4. I just thank Chad Stahelski and 8711 company. They've made such a great movie, and it's a shame that we probably won't see a John Wick movie for quite a while until we see a Continental spin-off or the Ballerina spin-off. And I think that this is literally the odyssey of all John Wick movies. This is literally the stamp of approval of one of the greatest action films of all time. This film and this franchise is a love letter to all action movies that we watched growing up. Action figures, these different filmmakers, this is inspiration from all of them to add in all of the art that they have made over the last 4 decades, and just made it into a love letter in this movie and franchise. So honest to God, if you have not seen John Wick Chapter 4, I highly recommend you go on cinemas and watch it right now, because I would genuinely give it a 10 out of 10 for what it is. I hope you liked the video, I hope you liked the reaction. Like, share, subscribe and comment, let me know what you think. Did you enjoy John Wick? Do you think it's one of the best action franchises in the world or in history? And do you also think that John Wick Chapter 4 is probably one of the top 5 films this year? Let me know what you think, and hopefully I get to see you in my next video.